Leinster might not be able to get away still. Trying to head up to that high ground, but there's a TP to try and chase him down. The Brig's in trouble. Nice double by Innate. Don't land. They're going to get caught by that. A Monk gets the solo kill. He'll struggle with Margent though, and he wins it. Monk fights too. Unreal. And that might be enough. Another Bionade to keep him alive, but he extends too far into Yuvi's position. Leave though can finish the job. Quartz now with the overclock from the high ground and trying to finish the map here for Saudi Arabia. But Gushway's back on the Winston again. He's taken so much damage from KSA, but it's the time. Was it enough? What?
There's a lot of reasons to believe this should have been China's year at the Overwatch World Cup. They were coming in as the entire Hangzhou Spark roster. They'd been playing together for a couple of years. Likewise, once we get to the actual tournament, they sweep groups, they knock out South Korea, probably their biggest rivals. They obliterate USA on the path to doing that as well. They've beaten all the toughest competition, and they have Saudi Arabia, who admittedly had a very good run in this tournament and looked very strong. But they're the only team standing in the way of them in the grand finals. If you'd asked for Chinese players before the tournament, you get to play for your first ever World Cup trophy, and you have to beat Saudi Arabia in the grand final. They would have bitten your hand off. They would have been so happy with that situation. And then you tell them you also get to go 2 maps up. There'd have been no hands left. They'd have chewed you apart to try and get that offer. It was such a good situation. It felt like it really was going to be China's year finally. But it didn't work out. And I looked in another video a bit more detail about how Saudi Arabia turned it back. But I want to focus today on one specific moment. Because we all know there were some mistakes from Leave right at the end of that series that ultimately cost China. But let's say Leave didn't die in those situations. We still don't know what happens. There's a lot of fights and ults to come online. Anything could happen. But I want to focus on one moment on the Route 66 defense by China where I really think they just lose their composure and drop the ball. In reality, I think they should have held Saudi Arabia on 3rd point. And if they'd done that, on China's attack, they had a 4.5 minute time bank on 3rd. They would have just won the World Cup there and then in map 5. So let's take a closer look at it and figure out what decisions they could have made differently. This is the game state as we have 49 seconds left on the clock. And you can look at this and actually, you might be really Saudi-pilled in this situation. They've got all 5 of their ults about to come online. All China have is Meteor Strike. Nothing else even particularly close. It looks like it could be a really tough one for China. The way it's going to start as well also makes it seem tough for China. We're going to see the solo Flux come on to Monk. This is always so difficult for Ana Briggs to deal with. Gushway's not going to be able to find the cancel. Monk's going to be killed in the air before anything even happens. But on top of that, KSA is going to make a follow-up nice play. He's going to rock and they're going to kill Gushway. So suddenly they find themselves in this 3v5 without a lot of hope, really, China. So what China need to do is they need to either stall out or play to trade. And obviously, the DPS players are the best at trading in these situations, and this is the decision we're going to see Shy make. What he wants to do is try and play to trade, probably almost as soon as Monk dies, they start to making this cool, because the car has long enough to the cap that if they can trade some kills, the respawns are just so much closer for the defense, it will favour them if they can find a kill. And if there's one thing you can always trust Shy to do, is hit a shot when he needs to hit a shot. There we go. Gets the trade onto Quartz, suddenly opens it up. And if we watch Shy's play after this, once he gets this initial pick, he moves behind the enemy team. And now all of a sudden, even though Saudi are still favoured in this fight, they're still 4v3, all of a sudden they have to go back and deal with him. They can't allow the Hanzo to sit here and take shots. It's just asking for trouble. But Shy's pulling them away from the objective. He's buying time for his respawns right now. And then you see he doesn't just push aggressively to get more kills. He tries to stall it out. He makes himself difficult to kill. He's dodging and juking around. Will repeat Majid. Gets a little bit unlucky here that the RNG of the Travelators is against him. But he still pulls back a lot of attention. And then by the time they kill Shy, if we go to the respawns, well look, Monk's back, Gushway's back, the gang is back together. 30 seconds left on the clock, and we've managed to stabilise. So China have initially clutched. If we look at the game state now, unfortunately, despite that clutch, it doesn't feel loads better. We still only have Meteor Strike. They still have lots of their ults, and everyone's going to be back in the fight soon. Leinster's also in a bit of a predicament, because Saudi Arabia, after they clean up Shy, they still want to push the advantage. Leinster finds himself between, well, a rock and a hard place, really. And then we're going to get a big ult wave from Saudi Arabia. And this is really heavy-handed. You can really make an argument this is heavy-handed because we're going to drop Illari ult, window, and wall all on the same timing. And a lot of them are doing the same thing. In fact, the Illari ult and the window are entirely for Monk. So, obviously you can probably kill an Ana if you do all of this, but it's very heavy-handed. The wall is also being used, and in reality, Lengsa was actually probably in such a difficult position. If they just sim wall and turn on Lengsa, I don't think there's a way Lengsa can survive, really. He's walled off from all the heals. Looks like it'd be really possible. But what happens during this next few seconds is incredible. If we watch it from Monk's point of view, we're going to see he gets double solo ulted and sim walled. He hits the nade just before the sim wall comes up, which obviously helps him. He then manages to hit a shot just as Lubda peaks, kills Lubda. Then he gets hit by the Illari ult, so you think, oh well, he's done pretty amazing to get a trade in this situation. But he's not done. He hits Majid once. Majid triggers the Sunstruck explosion. Gets the Mega. Hits Majid again. Dodges Majid's shot. Kills him. All of a sudden, Monk's won a 1v3 when there were 3 ults against him. Which is about as much as you can ask. On top of this, because they all focus Monk, Lengsa has just walked away from this situation. Now, all of a sudden, if I look at the game state now, obviously Monk has had to pull off an unbelievable clutch, but it's 4 versus 3. Symbol's on its way out. They will have Sojourn ult soon, but you still got to fancy your chances if you're Team China, and 12 seconds left on the clock. This is the last fight. Then what happens next? This is why I said at the top of the video, I think China lose their composure, because they've done the hard bit here. If I look at it now, it's 3v3, and then Shai's just coming back, and Shai's going to be peeking here. The cart's only at 62 meters. I forget exactly what it is, but it's like 74 or 75 meters for cap on Route 66, and there's loads of time to play with. They don't need the touch urgently. They can probably even just slow down like Gushue touch if they really want to. But what they do instead is they drop into KSA here. And not only does this mean Monk loses line of sight to Lengsa, so he cops a body shot from Quartz and loses his health, and these guys aren't able to pocket each other through, but it also just provides KSA an opportunity to do this. Rock Lengsa, then kill Monk, then all of a sudden they've also lost control of the high ground, and Quartz is now up here on Sojourn ult. I think if you have an Ana Brig up here, even with a Sojourn versus Sojourn ult, in this kind of space, the Ana Brig should feel really okay with that. Lengsa nearly has Rally as well. They just drop off the high ground, lose their composure, but now all of a sudden, even though the nade hits and Leaves able to get one trade, Quartz and KSA clean up. Now all of a sudden, it's just Gushue alive. It's 2v1, Gushue can't do anything. He's going to get mowed down, Kiri's going to come back and they cap it. So yeah, 74.58 meters. What a missed opportunity I have to feel by China. I know they had to do a crazy clutch to get themselves into this situation, and credit should go to Monk for that. But the drop afterwards, I feel they really dropped the ball. And again, if you think about what's going to happen on the Saudi Arabian attack, they're going to have 4.5 minutes on third point to cap. And obviously they do eventually cap. But if they'd managed to hold them here instead, they just win the World Cup in this moment off the back of their good attack and better defense. I feel they really dropped the ball on this one. It's one of these things, as much as these are seasoned pros and experienced players, pressure and tension makes you make bad decisions. It's so hard to stay composed in all these moments. And I think despite how well Monk and Lengsa played throughout the entire tournament, there's a moment here where they really let their team down. They make a poor decision and it ends up costing China quite dearly. A devastating moment for China, and really does emphasize how close they were to winning their first ever World Cup. I'm sure Monk and Lengsa will regret that situation, and we all know how it turned out afterwards, followed up by the overtime rounds and a couple of individual mistakes from Leave that opened the door for Saudi to secure their first World Cup ever. Devastating for Team China, but it shouldn't be forgotten how close China were to winning the World Cup. Thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.